Do you trust in God? I mean, really trust him. Not just when things are going well, not just when life is smooth, but in the moments when everything seems to be falling apart. Because let me tell you something, trusting in God is not a feeling. It's a decision, a commitment, a way of living that transforms everything. Most people say they trust God, but the second they hit adversity, fear takes over. Why? Because you cannot live in faith and fear at the same time. It's one or the other. Every single day you are making a choice. Do you believe in the power, the plan, and the purpose God has for you? Or are you controlled by doubt? Trust is easy when life makes sense. But when doors close, when setbacks hit, when the world tells you it's over, that's when real trust begins. That's when you must make a choice. Will you step forward in faith, or will you shrink back in fear? Most people think trusting in God means waiting for everything to be perfect. No, trusting in God means taking action before you see the result. It means moving forward even when you don't know how it's all going to work out. It's the ability to surrender, not in weakness, but in power. Because surrendering to God's plan doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing everything you can while knowing He is guiding the outcome. And when you do that, when you truly let go and trust, you start to see miracles. I've seen people who had nothing, who were at rock bottom, who thought their story was over. But the moment they put their full trust in God, things started shifting. Doors that were closed started opening. Connections appeared out of nowhere. Strength they never thought they had came rushing in. That's what happens when you trust, when you stop trying to control everything and allow something greater to take the lead. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Trusting in God doesn't mean life gets easy. It means you stop living in panic. It means you stop second-guessing every move. It means you walk forward with confidence, knowing that even if you can't see the whole path, He does. So I ask you again, do you trust in God, not just with your words, but with your actions? Because if you do, everything in your life will shift. Doors will open, strength will rise, and fear will lose its grip. Trust isn't just believing, it's moving forward in that belief. And when you do that, nothing will ever be the same again. Fear and faith are like two opposing forces pulling at your life, and you can't live in both at the same time. It's one or the other. Every single day, in every single moment, you are making a choice. Are you leaning into faith, or are you letting fear control you? Because here's the truth. Whichever one you feed will grow. Whichever one you surrender to will shape your destiny. Think about it. How many times have you stopped yourself from going after something because of fear? How many times have you let doubt, hesitation, or the opinions of others talk you out of what you knew in your heart was meant for you? That's fear running the show. It whispers in your ear, what if you fail? What if they laugh at you? What if you're not good enough? And the second you entertain those thoughts, fear tightens its grip. It keeps you small. It keeps you stuck. Now imagine someone standing on the edge of a diving board. They're looking down at the water, heart pounding, muscles tense. They know they can swim. They know they've done this before. But fear creeps in. What if I slip? What if the water's too cold? What if I hit the bottom too hard? And so they freeze. They hesitate. They let fear dictate their next move. But what happens when they finally take the leap? Relief, excitement, adrenaline, a rush of confidence that only comes from facing fear head on. And the moment they come up for air, they laugh because they realize it was never as scary as they made it out to be. That's life. Fear keeps you at the edge, staring at the water, making up 100 reasons why you should stay where you are. But faith says jump. Faith says you were made for more. Faith says you don't need to see the whole path. Just take the first step. The most successful people in the world, the ones who achieve the impossible, they are not fearless. No, they just choose faith over fear. They feel the fear, but they move anyway. They trust that even when they don't have all the answers, even when the road ahead is unclear, there is something greater guiding them forward. And because of that, they break through limitations. They step into their purpose. They live lives that inspire millions. Now, let me ask you, what's your fear costing you? Maybe it's the dream you've been putting off, the business you've been afraid to start, the conversation you've been avoiding. Maybe it's that voice inside you saying you're meant for more, but fear keeps silencing it. If you let fear win, you will look back one day with regret, wondering what could have been if only you had believed a little more, trusted a little deeper, taken that one step forward. I remember a story about a man who had spent years stuck in the same job, hating every second of it, but too afraid to leave. He told himself all the usual excuses. It's too risky. What if I fail? What if I don't make enough money? And so he stayed. Day after day, year after year, watching his dreams fade into the background, until one day something shifted. He realized he was more afraid of staying the same than he was of failing. That was the moment everything changed. He took the leap. He quit the job. He followed his passion. And guess what? It wasn't easy. There were struggles, setbacks, moments of doubt. But every time fear tried to pull him back, he chose faith instead. And in the end, it paid off. He built a life he once only dreamed of, all because he stopped letting fear control his future. That's the key. Fear will always be there, but it doesn't have to control you. You have a choice, and the moment you choose faith, you unlock doors you never even knew existed. You step into opportunities that once felt impossible. You start moving in a way that attracts success, strength, and purpose. So what are you choosing today? Fear or faith? Because you can't have both. You either live your life hesitating, doubting, holding yourself back, or you step forward boldly, knowing that something greater is guiding you. When you do that, when you fully trust, when you silence fear, when you take that leap, you will discover that you were never meant to live small. You were meant to rise, to overcome, and to step into the extraordinary life that's waiting for you. Most people misunderstand what it means to trust in God. They think surrender is weakness, that it means sitting back, doing nothing, and waiting for life to magically work itself out. But that's not trust. That's avoidance. True surrender is not about giving up. It's about aligning yourself with something greater than you. It's about stepping into a power beyond your own, knowing that you don't have to carry the weight of the world alone. Think about a river. A river doesn't force its way through the land. It flows, it moves with the current, trusting the path that has been carved for it. It doesn't resist, it doesn't panic, it surrenders to the journey. And because of that, it reaches places it could never get to if it tried to fight its own course. That's what life is like when you trust in God. You stop fighting against the current. You stop trying to force things that aren't meant for you. You stop exhausting yourself with the need to control every little detail. Instead, you move with faith, knowing that even when things don't make sense, even when the path isn't clear, you are being led exactly where you need to be. The problem is, most people are trying to control everything. They hold on so tightly to their own plans, their own timelines, their own expectations, that they leave no room for something greater to unfold. And that's why they struggle. That's why they feel stuck, overwhelmed, frustrated, because they're fighting battles that were never meant to be fought alone. But the moment you surrender, the moment you release the need to control everything, everything starts to change. Doors open, opportunities appear, strength you never knew you had rises up inside you. Why? Because you're no longer operating from a place of fear. You're operating from a place of trust. And when you trust in God, you're not just relying on your own power anymore. You're tapping into a force far greater than anything you could ever imagine. This doesn't mean life will always be easy. It doesn't mean you won't have struggles, setbacks, or moments of doubt. But it does mean you'll have peace in the process. You'll have clarity in the confusion. You'll have confidence even when the outcome is uncertain. Because deep down, you'll know you are not alone. You'll know that every closed door is redirecting you to something better, that every delay has a purpose, that every setback is setting you up for something greater. There's a story about a man who was stranded in the ocean after his boat sank. He prayed for God to save him, but he refused to swim to shore, believing that a miracle would come. A rescue boat passed by, offering help, but he waved them away, saying, "God will save me." Then a helicopter came, lowering a ladder, but again he refused, convinced that a divine intervention would happen. Eventually, exhausted and out of strength, he drowned. When he got to heaven, he asked God, "Why didn't you save me?" And God said, "I sent you a boat. I sent you a helicopter. You refused them." That's what happens when people mistake surrender for inaction. Trusting in God doesn't mean waiting for life to hand you everything on a silver platter. It means moving forward in faith. It means doing your part, knowing that God will do his. It means recognizing the opportunities he places in front of you, the people he sends your way, the doors he opens. You can't just stand still and expect everything to change. You have to take the steps, even when you don't see the whole staircase. When you surrender, you shift from force to flow. You stop trying to manipulate the outcome and start trusting the process. You stop stressing over the how and start believing in the who, the one who is guiding you, leading you, and preparing you for something greater than you can imagine. And when you truly surrender, when you fully trust, that's when miracles happen. That's when you finally step into the life you were always meant to live. There are moments in life when everything seems impossible. When the walls are closing in, the odds are stacked against you, and nothing you do seems to work. It's in those moments that trust is the hardest, but it's also when miracles happen. Miracles don't come when you try to control everything, when you force your way through life with fear and doubt. Miracles happen when you let go, when you surrender, when you put your trust in something greater and allow the impossible to unfold. There was a woman who had spent years struggling to start a family. She and her husband tried everything, doctors, treatments, every medical solution available, but nothing worked. Every negative test, every failed attempt, every closed door made it harder for her to hold on to hope. She lived in constant frustration, questioning why things weren't happening the way she wanted, when she wanted. One day, after years of disappointment, she finally let go. She stopped fighting, stopped forcing, and simply trusted. She chose to believe that if it was meant to be, it would be. And the moment she released that control, the moment she fully surrendered, something incredible happened. A few months later, without any medical intervention, she found out she was pregnant, a miracle. Not because she did nothing, but because she chose to trust. There's another story about a man drowning in financial debt. He had built a business from the ground up, but after a few bad deals and unexpected losses, he was on the verge of bankruptcy. He did everything he could, took extra jobs, borrowed money, tried to control every last detail. But the more he tried, the worse it got. One night, exhausted and defeated, he finally broke down. He realized he couldn't carry the burden alone anymore. He let go of his pride, let go of his fear, and chose to trust that if he kept doing his part with faith, a way would be made. 2 weeks later, out of nowhere, he got a call from an old friend, someone he hadn't spoken to in years. That friend had a business opportunity, something that would not only save him from financial ruin, but take him to a whole new level of success. It was the breakthrough he had been waiting for, a miracle. But it didn't happen until he stopped trying to control everything and trusted that something bigger was at play. Miracles don't come from panic. They don't come from living in fear. They come when you trust, when you stop gripping so tightly to what you think is the only way and allow something greater to unfold. There's a famous story of a man who had been blind since birth. People told him he would never see, that he would never experience life the way others did, but he had faith. He didn't live in bitterness or doubt. He trusted that one day, somehow, things would change. And one day, against all logic, against all medical understanding, his sight was restored. He saw for the first time in his life. Was it chance? Was it luck? No. It was a miracle born from trust, from unwavering faith. The same is true for a young athlete who suffered a career-ending injury. He was told he'd never play again, that his dream was over, but instead of accepting defeat, instead of letting fear control him, he chose to believe. He committed himself to the process, to recovery, to trusting that if he stayed faithful, doors would open. And against all odds, not only did he heal, but he came back stronger than ever. He went on to achieve more than he ever thought possible. A miracle. The pattern is always the same. Miracles don't happen in spaces of doubt and control. They happen when you step into trust. When you surrender your timeline, your plans, your fear, and believe that even when you don't see the way is being made. So many people spend their lives gripping onto control, afraid to let go, afraid to trust. But the truth is, control is an illusion. You are never truly in control of everything, but when you trust, when you surrender, when you open yourself up to something greater, that's when doors open. That's when breakthroughs happen. That's when miracles unfold. Because miracles don't happen to those who hold on too tight. They happen to those who have the courage to let go. Imagine standing at the edge of a fog-covered path. You can't see what's ahead. You don't know where it leads. And every step forward feels uncertain. Most people stop right there. They hesitate, they overthink, and they wait for clarity before taking action. But life doesn't work that way. The most extraordinary things happen when you move forward without knowing all the answers. When you walk by faith, not by sight. Real trust is stepping into the unknown, believing that even though you can't see the full picture, something greater is guiding you. It's knowing that every step you take in faith is building a path beneath you, even if at first all you see is emptiness. Most people want guarantees before they move. They want the perfect plan, the perfect timing, the perfect conditions before they take action. But that's not faith. That's comfort, and comfort zones never produce miracles. There's a story of a man who was lost in the desert, searching for water. After hours of walking under the scorching sun, he stumbled upon an old water pump in the middle of nowhere. Next to it, he found a small bottle filled with water and a note that read, "Pour this water into the pump to prime it, and you will have all the fresh water you need. But if you drink it now, the pump will not work." At that moment, he had a choice. He could drink what little water he had and hope it would be enough to survive, or he could trust that by pouring it out, by letting go of what seemed certain, he would receive more than he could ever need. His throat was dry, his body weak, and everything in him screamed to take the easy way. But something inside told him to trust. He poured the water into the pump, held his breath, and started pumping. At first, nothing happened. Doubt crept in. Fear whispered, "You've made a mistake." But he kept going. And suddenly the pump roared to life and fresh, cool water gushed out. More than enough. Abundance. But it only came because he chose to trust. That's how faith works. You won't always see immediate results. You won't always get instant confirmation that you're on the right path. But if you keep moving forward, if you refuse to let doubt stop you, the doors will open, the opportunities will appear, and the miracles will happen. So many people hold back because they can't see the end result. They say, "I'll believe it when I see it." But that's not faith. That's doubt disguised as logic. Faith says, "I'll move forward even when I don't see it yet." The greatest achievements in history happened because someone dared to trust before they had proof. Think about the person who starts a business without knowing if it will succeed, the athlete who trains every day without knowing if they'll ever win the championship, the person who moves to a new city, takes a leap of faith in a relationship, or follows a calling they don't fully understand. None of them had guarantees. None of them could see the full picture, but they trusted. And because they trusted, their lives changed. Walking by faith means understanding that uncertainty is not your enemy. It's your teacher. It forces you to rely on something beyond yourself. It strengthens you, shapes you, and prepares you for what's coming next. Every step forward in faith builds confidence, not just in yourself, but in the process. There was once a man who dreamed of climbing the highest mountain. He trained for months, prepared for every challenge. But when he started his journey, thick fog covered the entire trail. He could only see a few feet ahead. Every step was taken in uncertainty. But he didn't stop. He kept moving forward, one step at a time, trusting that the path was still there even if he couldn't see it. After hours of climbing, the fog suddenly lifted, and in front of him was the most breathtaking view he had ever seen. He had made it to the top, not because he had all the answers, but because he kept walking, even when he couldn't see. That's what faith looks like. It's trusting that every step is leading you somewhere greater, even if you don't understand how. It's knowing that just because you can't see the way doesn't mean there isn't one. The breakthrough, the opportunity, the dream, it's all waiting for you. But you have to take the first step. You have to walk by faith. If you wait for all the lights to turn green before you start driving, you'll never leave your house. If you wait to see the whole staircase before taking the first step, you'll stay stuck where you are. Life doesn't reward hesitation, it rewards action. Faith is not about waiting for guarantees, it's about moving forward even when you're scared, even when you don't have all the answers, even when everything in you is screaming to turn back. Because here's the truth. Every great success story started with uncertainty. Every breakthrough was preceded by struggle. Every champion, every leader, every world changer once stood exactly where you are, faced with a choice: move forward in faith or stay trapped in fear. The ones who rose, the ones who conquered, the ones who changed the world were not the ones who waited for perfect conditions. They were the ones who stepped forward when nothing made sense, when no one believed, when the odds were against them. You think greatness comes from playing it safe? From knowing every step before you take it? No. It comes from risk. It comes from faith. It comes from believing in something greater than yourself. It comes from standing at the edge of the unknown and saying, I don't know what's ahead, but I refuse to stay here. Steve Jobs once said, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. That means you won't always see how things are working in your favor while you're in the middle of the journey. The disappointments, the delays, the closed doors, they might not make sense now, but one day you'll look back and realize that every moment of uncertainty, every step of blind faith was leading you exactly where you were meant to be. Look at history. Look at the people who changed the game. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school basketball team. Imagine if he had stopped. Imagine if he had said, I don't see the path, so I'll quit. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Imagine if she had believed that. Thomas Edison failed over 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. Imagine if he had given up because he didn't see results immediately. The greatest victories come to those who refuse to quit when the path is unclear. The greatest breakthroughs come to those who step forward even when they don't know what's next. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. That's what Henry Ford said. Because it's not about what's in front of you. It's about what's inside of you. Muhammad Ali declared, I am the greatest before the world ever saw it. He spoke it. He believed it. He walked by faith. He didn't wait for people to approve of him. He didn't wait for the world to confirm it. He knew it deep in his soul, and he stepped into it. That's what faith looks like. Les Brown said, shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. But you have to take the shot. You have to move, even when it's scary, even when the odds say no, even when you can't see the whole picture. Listen, life is happening right now, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when you have all the answers, right now. And right now you have a choice. Stay where you are, stuck in doubt, in hesitation, or step forward in faith. You don't have to see the entire path. You just have to take the first step. Martin Luther King Jr. said it best. Faith is taking the first step, even when you don't see the whole staircase. That's your challenge today. That's your moment. Don't let fear hold you back. Don't let doubt rob you of your destiny. The future belongs to those who trust the process, who keep moving, who keep believing, because one day you'll look back and you'll realize you were never lost. You were never alone. Every step, every trial, every unknown moment was shaping you, preparing you, leading you to something greater. And when that moment comes, when you finally see how it all connected, you'll understand faith was never about seeing. It was always about believing.